People are not going to like this one, but I'm going to tell you why there's no such thing as a living wage. First, let's go with how they define what a living wage even is. A theoretical income level that allows individuals or families to afford adequate shelter, food, and other necessities. Keywords there, theoretical and adequate. Theoretical meaning just a theory, meaning it's evolving, meaning it's not objective. Adequate also meaning not objective. Opinion-based. Here's another one. Satisfactory standard of living. This is like saying the best pizza. It's the difference between saying I have the best pizza and I have the best selling pizza in this county. It's the difference between saying I have the best restaurant and I have the highest rated restaurant on Google reviews. Here's another one. Economists suggest. So which economists? All of these things are intentionally vague because this is a political talking point used to garner votes and attention for bureaucrats at the expense of the employers, the corporations, the business owners, aka the individual citizens who saved their capital, took risks, worked really hard, invested their money, and created a system by which they were able to generate more profit than they expend. Okay, so why is a living wage not a real thing? Aside from all the theoreticals, this is not an objective measurement. So saying these people need to be paid a living wage means nothing just based on that alone. Short of bureaucratic involvement, wages are set based on market conditions, just like any other commodity. The cost of labor fluctuates just like any other commodity, based on supply and demand. The simplest way of explaining it is the free market economy works essentially like Uber surge pricing works. If a bunch of people are in an area requesting rides all at the same time, the prices go up. As a result of the prices going up, it incentivizes other Uber drivers in the area to go to that area to satisfy the need of all those people that need rides. The more drivers that come to the area, the more people are competing for those riders, and then the price goes down. As a result of the price going down, those Uber drivers are then free to go to other areas, maybe where there might be more demand. The free market economy works just the same way, and so does labor. So suggesting that you need to pay a living wage to people is not even a real thing. If those employees did not want and were not willing to accept the wages that were there, if they could somehow not live in that area, they wouldn't be able to accept the job. If they needed a living wage in order to take that job, and they have that job right now, then that means they're able to live in that area. Yes, they may be struggling. Yes, it may be difficult, but that only incentivizes them to increase their skill set, learn more, work a different job that might be more valuable, and they temporarily hold those positions, or they're taken by unskilled workers until they're able to move up the ladder or gain more experience or create more value. Here's an example. Let's pick a really expensive place to live, San Francisco. Now let's talk about a low-paying job, Starbucks. If Starbucks has a job that's $15 an hour, or let's just say $10 an hour, and it's in San Francisco, you would say, well, that's not a living wage. You can't afford to live in that area. If Starbucks had a job for $10 an hour in San Francisco where this living wage was supposedly a thing, then Starbucks would not be able to staff the employees to fill that position. In the event that no person was able to afford accepting $10 an hour to work at that Starbucks in San Francisco, they would be forced to offer a higher wage in order to incentivize people to take the job. If no one could afford to have that job at that rate, there would be no employees. Then Starbucks would have to raise the wage in order to incentivize people to hold that job. The wage would be based on whether or not there was enough supply or demand for that position. If they weren't paying enough, people wouldn't accept the job. It's very simple. So as a result, what happens is the person that accepts that job is a person that maybe only works there part-time, or only needs a few extra hours, or maybe lives right on that block, or maybe is able to use inexpensive transportation to get in and out of the city. The free market sorts these things out on its own. If that wage was impossible for anybody to accept, then no one would hold the job. So what ends up happening is lower skilled workers or high school kids or college kids or whatever take that part-time job, use it to gather extra scratch, and get more experience. So if it's a college kid that takes that job that maybe lives across the street from that Starbucks in a campus, to suggest that they need a living wage to afford a 2-bedroom apartment or a car or to support a family is not accurate. It's held by a person that lives across the street, that lives on a campus, that's collecting some extra scratch while they work and go to school. If you measure it up to a person that has to support a family on that job, it just doesn't make any sense. That's not how it shakes out. So then if you artificially use bureaucratic power to raise that wage, it has to be paid $20 an hour so there's some living wage. What would happen is that some other person would come in and take that job at that rate. over the college kid, an older person, a person with more experience, for example. And then the college kid would have no job at all. On top of that, Starbucks or whatever the business is would have to be paying more for that labor and thus would have to increase the price. Then when that college kid goes over there to buy a coffee, they have to pay that additional cost for it. The bureaucrat simply uses these phrases and terminology to garner sympathy and support for their policies. And their policies invariably are, hey, we're going to give you more stuff for free than the other guy. That's why it's intentionally vague. That's why it's intentionally subjective, because they emotionally manipulate people that are financially unaware. And they get them mad at the corporations and they say, look at all their profit. Absolutely anything to distract you from the real suck, the real money suck, the real power takers, which is the bureaucrat who always make everything worse.